we're gonna get this vlog style because I want to start documenting, right? Movies that I've watched. And I just watched the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. So it's basically the last film that Heath Ledger was working on, right? Before his passing. And then there was other incidents that did occur. I need to find a setup. 1 second, y'all. 1 second. Yeah, it's more of a movie review, not really just like a rundown of what occurred on set, because I don't exactly know. I've just seen some minor details. But I did know that this is the last film that obviously Heath did work on. But, like I said, Heath did pass away during the production of the film. So, because he was set as the main character, which I'll get on to, I think it's kind of debatable because there's other characters that I would perceive as a main character. But that occurred, right? So they had to find other ways in finishing his character up without, cutting much of the dialogue and making his character whole, right? So, the kindness of 3 other actors, which I do believe were friends of Heath, because in the closing credits, it talks about Heath. I commend them for moving forward with the film, because with Heath's death, right, they had some of his friends act for his role. So they had Johnny Depp, that was one of the actors, and then 2 others. I don't know at the top of my head. But it was very commendable, especially with the other circumstances, which I'll tell you about right now. So the other circumstances, this is the timeline. First, Heath's death. Then it goes that they find out that somebody in the cast, production has cancer, which, in memory had Heath and then the other person. And then the last was, I believe it was, the filmmaker or somebody who was really involved did get in a car accident. So you would think after these 3 occurrences, it would be impossible to finish this film, but they do. It's not the best executed, right? But they tried their best, and I commend them for that. And then another thing I would like to talk about, just from the review, is the character Valentina. She is the daughter of Parnassus, whatever you could say his name, the main doctor guy, and she is 16, right? And they objectify her way too much. That's one criticism I would say, is that, yes, she is rightly 16. She's just 16 in the end of the film. And they objectify her a little bit too much. She objectifies herself. When Heath shows up in the film, he makes a new strategy of changing up the performance of, I don't want to spoil it, but basically it's like a circus kind of presentation. And she's topless, like she's covering her bust. And I don't think that's really appropriate for a 16-year-old. And yeah, that's a criticism I would say about the film. I really did enjoy just the wackiness and the imaginary life that was built from Dr. Parnassus. He truly made some beautiful stuff, and him as a character being immortal is kind of cool. I mean, at risk, right? Because he's immortal because he had to deal with the devil, and he keeps making bets with the devil, and it might risk Valentina. But I mean, that's what the risk happens through the film. And I genuinely think the film was way better. I tried to watch Ghost World a few minutes before I changed it onto this one. I only made it like 50 minutes on Ghost World. They're 2 different films, and I personally would recommend this film over Ghost World. That's just my personal opinion, right? But yeah, I would say that Andrew Garfield did a great job on it. He was very lovely. I mean, I love young Andrew. Andrew's 40 now. He was like, what, in 2009? I'm not doing the math. He was young. He was younger. You can tell he has a baby face. I thought that it was really cute that, you know, he, spoiler alert, ends up with Valentina. And I think that they wanted Parnassus to be the main character, but there was some scenes where they made Tony, Heath, and Johnny Depp and all of those characters the main character, and some circumstances did occur, and they might have had to change the way of their plot. Maybe Heath was the main character, but they couldn't execute it properly, because there's some little gaps of it where you're like, why is Heath's ending so strange compared to, you know, the happily ever after of everyone else? I mean, obviously Heath does die in real life, so they're scrambling. They're scrambling, and I think it's kind of worth just finishing it. They did finish it. But yeah, I would definitely recommend the film. It was very lovely, and other than like some sexualization of the character Valentina as a 16-year-old, which is not okay, I would say it's pretty good, and there's nothing wrong with Andrew Garfield's character. He's the only character I would say besides like Parnassus is, I'm murdering his name, but the doctor's sidekick, who obviously was like a wise person who's been there for the doctor for a long time and knows everything about it. Those two characters I really liked. I loved the costumes. I loved the costumes of this film. I mean, it definitely does show a little bit about how they are struggling to survive, right? Because they are making this show, they're trying to financially benefit off of the doctor's skills and his immortality, and they're not succeeding until Heath's character comes, and, you know, the other circumstances that happen with, like, the devil, who's, like, the antagonist. But yeah, it was a good film. I really enjoyed Heath's bird mask. It was nice, and his remodeling of the stage was really nice. I mean, I like the old one, but just the whole design of it was very wonky, and you can definitely tell that it was intentional on how unique and kind of depressing at times it was, because, I mean, the doctor always looked like he was poor. He has so much skills that he could have financially benefited on, but obviously he didn't know how to strategize that properly. But we don't know the extent of the powers he has. We know he's an imaginary. He builds these most beautiful imaginary things, and he wants more and he craves more, so he makes deals with people. And yeah, I would definitely suggest it. The film, the costumes, and just the general aesthetic of it is very nice. It's definitely a little bit more appropriate than other films I watched. Like, I watched American Psycho, which is obviously a different genre, but I don't know, I enjoyed it more. I mean, I was still so confused through half of the film. Most of it I was so confused about. I mean, without the stereotypical happily ever after at the end, I wouldn't say it really had much of a theme to it. Yeah, but that's my tangent. I'm making it unedited, other than adding pictures onto the screen about the different characters, but that's all. And yeah, love y'all. Thank you for listening to my nonsense for like 15 minutes.